Hey, this is Johnny Rich, man, part of the Rich Cousins, listening to and doing the Live in Color with Wolfie D. Glad to be here.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D Podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Welcome once again to Live and in Color with Wolfie D, the Hall of Famer, by the way. And my man, Jimmy, across the street. What up, dude?
What up, dude? What up? You got to get that Hall of Famer part in. We got to work that in some way. Yeah, I like that, man.
Say that every once in a while because it's
nothing wrong.
I mean, it feels good. I'm sorry. Call me whatever, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you should, and that's cool, man. You know, that's something we gotta work into those. So it's like Live and in Color with the Hall of Famer Wolfie D. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Like I said in the intro to my speech, it's what I grew up on, and it makes me happy, man. So whatever. Yeah. Anybody don't like it can, you know what they can do.
What can they? Never mind. Yeah, man. So how you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm hanging and banging.
Yeah.
Losing weight.
Nice.
I lost 20 pounds when they told me about the gimmick and the heart gimmick, and did that on my own. And now they got me Ozempic. You know, that's a big thing. You know, everybody's doing that now. And
you're like the only person that admits it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like the steroids of weight loss. It really is.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's like, nobody wants to say they're doing it or whatever. But
right.
And honestly, I lost 20 without it. I've lost about 4 with it.
Okay.
In the past 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know. But it does curb your appetite. I will say that. It's like I'm struggling because I don't want to be skinny fat.
Right.
So I'm struggling to go, okay, I've got to eat right now. I'm going to eat, I'm going to get protein in me because I'm working out and I don't want to lose these guns.
The foundation. Yeah.
And these guns are pretty good, but
you want that gun? They put that gun part in there again.
Yeah, guns in there. I've always had good guns,
man. But that's a part of the look that you got to have. Like you said, you're talking with Carrie last episode, and by the way, what a great episode! Lots of great response to that. Thank you, Carrie, and thank you everyone for listening. But I remember you talking about Ricky Morton popping up that softball bicep right there. I mean, I hate to say it, but that is such a good, an important part of a pro wrestler's look, man, is having a good foundation.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you can kind of tell when they lose it, they don't have any muscle anymore.
You look believable, man. You got to look believable. I don't care what anybody says in this day and age with these, anybody can be a wrestler and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm sorry. I'm not buying your shit. Unless you look like you could beat my ass.
Right.
I feel like most people think I can beat their ass, even if I can't. But anyway, you people I'd like to beat their ass right now. We talked about that earlier, but and not wrestlers to the listeners, not wrestlers, just
not wrestlers or former tag partners or anything like that.
No, not that. I just want to beat people up. I wish it was legal. I swear
it is, and you need to join the UFC. Is there some sort of not senior division, but is there a retired wrestler division of?
Yeah, it's just I fucking don't like you division.
Yeah, that's it. I don't like
division. Okay, let me book you against me. I don't like you. Anyway. Well, we've got a great interview coming up, dude.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Somebody that we do like.
Yes, we do like.
Yeah, Johnny Crash Rich, man.
Crash. And I'm going to ask him where that came from.
Yeah,
or you can.
One of us will. We'll find out.
We got to figure out what that is.
Yeah, man. And I've got
because I don't understand it. I really don't.
But I mean, wasn't it like there's Johnny Crash Craddock or something? He was like a country singer. So, every once in a while you'll hear that name pop up. But, I got a theory of what it's about, but I don't know the full story, so we're going to find that out.
Well, I don't even have a theory, Austin. I don't have a theory, but yeah, we need to ask him about that, and I think this is going to be cool because obviously me and Tommy have a good history. Let me say, me and Tommy have a history. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's funny, man. It's funny, bro. I'm telling you, it's like the biggest angle, one of the biggest angles in my career was against him. And it's like one of the biggest angles in my life is against him. It's like,
yeah.
I don't think he likes me, really.
Yeah. Well,
but whatever.
I think he likes you, but I think he likes getting on your nerves more,
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably it.
But yeah.
Anyway, we have got his shoot cousin, Johnny, coming on here today.
Let's get him on here. I like it.
Let's do it before Doug and Tommy do.
We'll be right back after these messages really quick, okay?
Hey folks, to get your official Live and in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, guys, we're back. And once again, you survived the break. And it's so funny, man, because sometimes when a commercial comes on, I just flip the channel. But I'm glad you guys didn't. Stayed here with us for my next guest, Johnny Rich. This is such a cool interview because, man, I love Tommy, and I got so many stories with Tommy. And this is a real cousin. This ain't a work. This is a real shoot cousin of Tommy Rich. And the stories that I got, man, some of them I can't tell on here. But maybe Johnny will let y'all in on some of it, man. Johnny, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be here with you and Jimmy.
Thank you.
Yes, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I don't think that me and you have ever crossed paths, and that's so crazy. But you were, I don't know, probably 10 years before me. I debuted in '93, and I think you debuted in the early '80s or something like that, right?
Yeah. It was like 80, 81, something like that.
Yeah, man.
Started right there in Memphis,
Yeah, exactly, man. But I'm going to tell you this, man. We got something in common, and I texted you this a little bit earlier before the show. Man, one of my favorite people in the whole world, man, and I exasperated this on my Hall of Fame Memphis induction is Danny Davis. Mm-hmm. And then I looked you up, and yeah, man, the Nightmares, him and Ken Wayne. And I'll be honest, I'll be straight up honest. Ken Wayne, man, even before his troubles, really didn't like Ken, but he's a hell of a worker. Didn't like Buddy. But anyway, Danny, I love Danny so much. Go ahead, Johnny. I'm sorry.
No. I just say, when I started up there, Buddy was around. I guess Buddy was running towns and everything at that time.
Yeah.
I guess he had just kind of got out of work and all, but we call him old Butthole Wayne. Still this day, I'll see there's a trucking company, something named Buddy something. I'm like, old Butthole Wayne there. But yeah, Jerry Clowers look-alike, what he was.
That's so true.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And you know who loved Jerry Clowers, and you probably know him too, is Billy Travis.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I really wasn't around Billy very much. I guess he was after I came through there, and I was only there for a year. And I didn't You know, I was there at the Dream Machine. I was there
Billy
for
loved Jerry Clower, and he's the one that turned me on to Jerry Clower.
Cousin Martin, you know, whatever he was.
Exactly. But yeah, man, if you could talk about, I mean, honestly, man, let's go back to this. Danny Davis and Ken Wayne, even though I don't really care for Ken, and I mean, it's not anything to do with the problems that he's had recently or whatever. Mm-hmm. I love Danny. I love Danny so much. Yeah. And I love Aubrey. I love Aubrey. Aubrey's a good kid, man. Mm-hmm. But Buddy didn't like so much, but Ken was also just a jerk to me, but he also taught me a lot. And man, the reason, you know, when I sent you that tape, you know, his backdrop, when Ken takes that backdrop, he does that arm flap thing, just makes it look so good. Man. And he was a great worker. He was a great worker. Not a nice guy, but a great worker.
Him and Danny together, you know, I mean, you know, me and Tommy had matches with them, and me and Davey, and you know, they were good. They, you know, it was believable stuff, you know, and you know, and they were kind of small, but I mean, you know, it was, you know, I thought they were, you know, some really good matches, but yeah, Danny Davis, you know, is just a stand-up guy, you know, and
absolutely
all the way around and everything. Really loved him. But yeah, we had some times we worked with him quite a bit.
Yes, and I did too, man. Like I said, when I broke into the business, man, and I broke in at 16, 15, and I got in Memphis at like 18, 19, and I was married to Danny and Ken, but mostly Danny. Man, he taught me so much, man. I never had been hip tossed and then on the fly, he's telling me what to do next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Psychologist and everything.
Yeah,
that's the perfect way to break into business. Getting somebody like that. You know, me. You know, I got in, and because I was Tommy's cousin, you know, I'm wrestling. A lot of the top guys doing jobs and shit and everything and all, but I ain't learning nothing. You know.
Yeah.
So it took a while before I ever got to good people like Danny Davis, working with people like that, you know, and all, and to where you could really learn and get some psychology going and all that. So
who would you say like okay, so I watched that match and I mean, great match, but who would you say in your wrestling career, who taught you the most, like in the ring or whatever?
You know, I don't know, there's different ones and all, but, you know, just when you got to work with somebody like Ted DiBiase, you know, or I don't know, different ones that were just, you know, and you know, I can't think them off the top of my head, but, you know, it was just easy as it could be when you got with somebody like that, you know, it just,
so
emotion. You know, the RPMs, Mike Davis and Tommy Lang.
Oh yeah.
You know, they were a lot similar to the Nightmares. I mean, it was good. You know, we had the people. I mean, we worked with them up there in Knoxville, you know, and that Coliseum in Knoxville would be sold out, and we would tear the house down. I mean, those people were so into it and all, and it was just so easy, you know.
It's awesome when it's easy. Yeah. That's. I mean, when I hear a worker say that to me, it was easy. I know what that means, man. It's just that the people are like, you know, twist an arm and give it an elbow, and they were like, "Whoo!" You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome stuff, man.
And all.
Yeah, at every level, man.
Yeah,
you don't even have to do much.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I started there in Memphis, and I mean, to the very beginning, you know, I wasn't a big fan. I never really watched wrestling that much, and Tommy had been in the business, and you know, and been his cousin, you know, and I'm living down in Alabama, and you know, like he's doing good, but I didn't really know much about what he was doing, and I decided to go over to Atlanta. I was working on trucks, straightening truck frames and stuff over here in Montgomery, and I was going to go over to Atlanta and start over there. And so I was staying with Tommy while I was working over there. so one night I went down to Columbus, Georgia with him, and Columbus, Georgia was like a Memphis, I mean, it's a hotbed for wrestling, and go down there, and it's flair and it's dusty roads. It's, it's back in their heyday when,
So how old were you right then? How old were you right then?
I was probably 21, I guess, something like that.
And you had no wrestling knowledge? You didn't like it before that?
No, I just never had studied it, never had thought about it. I mean, I played football in high school. My intention
All right,
was
let's
to go
talk
to college
about that
and play
too.
football.
Yeah, I love to go back on this stuff because I want to know how it developed into you being a wrestler.
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting at is that like I said, I just didn't know anything about wrestling and all that. And then when I went over there with him, and afterwards we went out to a bar, and it's Flair and them doing all their shit in the bar. He's buying whole bar drinks, and just controlling the whole place. I mean, it's a big old bar, and I'm like, man, this is cool as shit right here. This is what I want to do. And before that, I had no idea. I mean, I planned on going over there and going to work for a frame company in Atlanta, and I see this, and I totally flipped my thing. I'm like, shit, no, I'm getting in the wrestling business, and we had never talked about it. He said, well, I can get you started if you want to and all. And I'm like, okay.
Tommy said that.
And so, yeah.
Okay.
And so then the next week or something or whatever, he's going back to Memphis to wrestle for Memphis. He's leaving Atlanta and all. And because I came home and told my wife and had a little baby, and I'm like, man, we're moving to Atlanta. I'm getting this. It's like, whatever, And then the next week, I'm like, no, we're moving to Nashville. We're not moving to Atlanta. We're moving back to Nashville. So we did, and I got a job at a frame shop up there. And on the weekends, I would ride with them, and me and Tommy and Bobby Eaton and different ones would go and make the loop down there for us from Nashville. It'd be Tupelo and on Friday night, and TV Saturday morning, and Jonesboro, Arkansas, and then back to Nashville, and I was refereeing. So for 6 months, I was refereeing, the matches and everything. And then finally, Jerry said, we put you in the ring, and what are we going to call you? And I'm like, yeah. And so it's like, it'd probably be best if you didn't, let people know you were Tommy Rich's cousin, and I'll start with, so you need to make up some kind of fictitious name, And I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, we come up with the damn thing, Roy Rogers.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, which was like, everybody's like, Roy Rogers. Most of the time, the big thing is like, Roy Rogers, where's Trigger?
Where's Trigger? I was going to ask.
I say, he's right. I say he's right here. You want to rub his mane?
Oh my God!
And that goes like you may not be old enough to know who Roy Rogers and Trigger was.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's what I did. And then I got started, and I was wrestling, on the first match, in Memphis and all over. I mean, I was staying booked, but hell, I was barely making enough money to survive, but I was getting some experience and all. But there's like so many tales, and
let me ask you this too. Okay, so yeah, Tommy's your guy or whatever. Did Tommy train you? Who trained you to learn the shit?
No, he didn't ever train me shit. That's it. I'm just in the car with him and Bill Dundee,
Wow.
They ain't teaching me shit. The only thing they're telling me is like, you got to sell, you got to sell. That's the main thing. And so I thought that's where I got over, Yeah. So that's all I'm doing is selling, they didn't say nothing about a comeback,
Oh my God.
And so, it took me 2 or 3 years before I realized.
I mean, you just learned the moves like on the fly?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I just, just go out there and then, and I'm wrestling guys like Sonny King and, different ones and all that didn't, and I'm like thinking that they might want to talk a little bit about it. I called it in the ring. I've called him.
But they're teaching you, left side, blah, blah, blah. I mean, how did you figure that out?
I don't know. Just winged it, you know.
He just winged it. I love that.
You know.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Man, that's
absolutely crazy.
One of the, you know, so for like a solid year, I'm in Memphis in the first year. You know, I've done a job every night in the Mid-South Coliseum and all, and so I'm finally scheduled. You know, they're finally like going to put me over. They're like Jimmy Kent. Did you know him, Wolfie?
Did
you ever know Jimmy Kent?
I know that name, but I'm trying to think who that is. Jimmy Kent. Yeah. Jimmy, help me out here.
I'm not sure.
He was kind of like Danny. He's kind of like Danny Davis. He was a manager of a tag team or whatever and all. Then he was wrestling, you know, and he was on the first. They had him on the first match, and anyway, so they had me with him, and so man, I'm going to go over and everything, and for the first time, and I'm the first match. Well, you know, in Memphis, they had the prisoners set up the ring in the Mid-South Coliseum. Yeah. And all. They brought prisoners, work release people to set the ring up and all.
Wow.
They set the ring up and everything. So I go out for the first match, and we start our match. And right off the bat, Jimmy Kent grabs me. He's going to run me across and run my head in the turnbuckle. And when he does, you know, I kind of turn my head to the side and hit it from the side of my head. And when I come off there, you see a piece of hair fly off. And then blood just started squirting everywhere.
Oh, man.
Squirting straight out. The damn prisoners had put up the ring and had taped a razor blade in the corner turnbuckle.
No.
Closed razor blade in the turnbuckle.
Oh, my God.
And I just happened to hit it with my head right off the bat. So it worked out perfect. I don't know. Yeah, and so I thought it was a piece of wire or something sticking out, you know. I mean,
I know. I can say this to the listeners. I know that plenty of Memphis rings, buddies especially, but also Memphis rings had, because the ropes were made of that wire and stuff, and plenty of them had wire sticking out. So I can
wire sticking out. Yeah,
I guarantee that's
true. Well, that's what I thought it was, but they looked and I mean they had actually, you know, taped up the turnbuckles or whatever, and they had that razor taped in that turnbuckle with it exposed or whatever and all. Anyway, so, I mean, incredible juice, you know. I'm eating everywhere. The whole mat, slippery shit and everything and all. And he finally, you know, he's like throwing me out of the ring and all. And I'm coming up and selling like hell, you know, bleeding and giving him a shoulder, you know. And he's coming back over. And finally I come over the ropes, and Sunset flipped him and beat him 1, 2, 3. And then people went nuts. They're like, holy shit. Roy Rogers has finally won a match, you know.
Roy Rogers.
Anyway.
Call up Dale Evans. We're going to have a party.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, man. But seriously, man, I know, man, about those rings that were like shitty, and the like little pieces of the steel that would stick out of them. Man, I used to come back with, you know, not in my head, but like in my back and stuff like that, where you hit the corner and stuff like that. Yeah, I get that 100%.
Man,
but never had prisoners do that to me.
Yeah, that was wild.
I am rolling across the street. Hot tag.
Man, hot tag with Johnny Rich. Wow. So I blanked on this question. We just had Davey on. Great interview. People loved it. They're going to love this one too, I can already tell. But there was one thing that totally slipped my mind to ask him at the time that I had a chance to on the hot tag that Wolfie tagged me in. Mm-hmm. So take yourself to USA Wrestling. I know we're skipping ahead a little, but we can skip back too. That's just how the show works. We're good. But you're the Party Boyz, okay? And there was this vignette that I absolutely love. My friend Quentin from Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling told me about it. It's incredible. He says it was the party van or the party bus vignette that y'all did, and you're just kind of dancing around, kind of being the Party Boyz, and it's got you, Davey, and Steve Armstrong, I believe, in it. And do you remember that doing that? Bro. What, Scott? Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Scott. Yeah.
Yeah. And whose van? Yeah. Was that y'all's van or
the party van?
Party bus or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure whose that was. Are you talking about the video that we done?
The video where it's like a vignette with music and stuff, and y'all are you go into the Coliseum and you're showing the sign, and the coasters and the platters are going to be there the night before or something, and
right, yeah, that was pretty wild and all, but we and that Porsche was Brad Armstrong. It was his, and so I borrowed that as a prop for the thing, and then but yeah, we had a apartment there in Knoxville, and it was crazy time for sure. Davey's a huge Tennessee fan, so he just he would have paid good money just to be there, but he was getting paid and having a ball, but it was fun times. Yeah. Loved it up there,
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, the Party Boyz, good gimmick.
Obviously, before that, you were in the Rat Patrol, and I think that must be where I got Steve from, and I apologize for that. But with Tonga Kid and Steve.
Yeah.
And so where did that, I mean, obviously, it's a stupid question, honestly, but where did that name come from?
The Rat Patrol was Rich Armstrong and the Tonga Kid, R-A-T.
Right. Okay, I see it. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I thought it was something else because it was like a double entendre. You know what I mean? It means two things, right?
Yeah, well, it kind of was, but
I'm sure y'all didn't have any problems with that other thing too, so.
Man, hey, let me jump back in, man. And just because we're talking about the Armstrongs, and Jimmy knows this, man. One of my greatest friends in the whole wide world is Brian Armstrong. And I also owe a lot to the Armstrong family, every single one of them. I've worked with all of them. Bob was, God, man, Bob wrote an article about me in his Pensacola newspaper thing. I love them to death, man. Talk about the Armstrongs. What a great wrestling family that is.
Oh, yeah. They're just a great family overall, and they kind of took me in too. I mean, I felt like one of the family and all, because when we had this down here and me living in Montgomery, and they lived down there in Gulf Breeze. And so we'd do Dothan on Saturday night, Pensacola on Sunday. And so I'd be down there and staying with them and all. But, Brian was just a teenager and all during that time and all. And all his brothers are wrestling and all. And so we'd be out. We had a place we could go kind of out to ourselves on the bay side over there and all, and have a big party, just us, without, much other people, like not on the beach or nothing and all, but it had the water there. Anyway, we would be out there with Brian, giving him bumps and stuff out there in the water and stuff, and teaching him stuff, so that was kind of a little practice session for him and everything and all. And that was before he went in the Marines and all that stuff. But every single one of them are just such good people. And
absolutely.
And Bullet and his wife, was just wonderful for sure.
Absolutely. You talk about wrestling families, but that family is just incredible, man. I mean, there's some that get mentioned before them, but the Armstrongs, to me, are like the greatest wrestling family.
Yeah, and Bullet was, just a great guy all around. He's a family man.
A man's man.
Family, and he taught those boys, manners and stuff. He tried to teach Michael Hayes one time. Michael Hayes was on tour, and he did something, just like being an asshole, and anyway, Bob went after his ass and he took off running. He didn't want Bob getting.
Oh, please, please tell this story. Please tell the rest of the story, please.
Details, but. It's just like the fatherly thing, Bob is like, I don't care if you ain't my son, you're not going to get out here and, disrespect people or whatever. And Michael was just being Michael, which he's, he could be a dick at times, and all that. But Bob was like, no, not while I'm around, and he was going after, and, Bob, you piss him off, he had that short punch and he'd punch your ass out and knock you out in a heartbeat.
See, okay, so that brings up another thing. Bob had the short punch, but then I've also heard that Ricky Morton's daddy had the quickest little punch, and he knocked fans out. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I never saw it or nothing, though. But, I looked the other day and saw some pictures, and I can't remember. I think I was wrestling Gypsy Joe. A picture of me and Gypsy Joe in the ring.
Gypsy Joe was the man that put me in the ring for the first time when I was 15 years old. So we'll go from here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But all you could see in the picture was just a little tiny piece of a bald head or whatever, and right away, I mean, I'm like, hey, that's Paulie Morton, that's Ricky Dad, and so I was there when he was refereeing, and what a character he was, just a great guy, great guy, that's a funny guy.
But they said he had a little short punch that would knock people out.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, he was like a little Popeye guy, I don't think you don't want to mess with him, little bald guy, Marine-looking guy,
Yeah. And that's funny you bring up Gypsy Joe, because like I said, man, that was when I was 15 years old, the first time I ever got in a wrestling ring. I was taken to a wrestling ring by my stepfather and a guy named Rick Reynolds, and we went and worked out with Gypsy Joe. I was 15 years old in West Nashville, and that was the first man I'd ever been in the ring with, and he showed me a lot of stuff. And what's your comments on that?
That was another one that kind of, he was, getting older. He was down to the first match, and I'm starting out, and and I'm in there. I'll say I never fired back, but that way he kind of brought it out in me, getting out there in the ring with him, and he'd do that. He'd chop you, he'd chop the shit out of you, and so I learned real quick. So I started chopping him back as hard as he was chopping me. To finally, you hit him 2 or 3 times, with a big chop and all, then he would sell the hell out of it. I mean, it was like a shoot. Him dancing around. I can see him now with his hands folded up on his chest, dancing around the ring like, oh shit, But he'd have kept on, if you didn't chop him harder than he did you, he would have kept on, So
and he'd be like, come on, baby, harder. He was one of those guys. How many? That's the thing. I know this doesn't even exist anymore. How many guys have you been in the ring with that? I mean, because especially back in the 80s, I know you've been in the ring with guys that were like harder. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing was, and that was my mindset and everything too in wrestling. I had a little bit of wrestling background in high school, and like I said, played football and shit and everything. But, I'm going to go wide open, and we're going to, I mean, there's difference in working lightly and doing it and all, but there's also kind of like Stone Cold was one, that you, like them Steve Austin, that you'd wrestle with, and it was like a contest or whatever, and you were going wide open, and, if you got hit, you kept on going and stuff and all. But it wasn't no little dance, back in the days, and it was wide open. But I was very fortunate, and I look around now, I mean, when I came in the 80s, the guys that I was around, and so many stories, doing shit with Andre the Giant, the Iron Sheik, just all these different characters and stuff and all that.
Who was the stiffest? Who was the person you worked with that was like, fuck, I don't even want to do this?
Diamond Dallas Page.
Really? Oh, man.
that blew me out of the water.
He absolutely sucked. I mean, this is when he was just, and I don't give a fuck if he knows it or what, or hears it. Really? I know firsthand because I had to work with. Yeah, I mean, that's when I was in Atlanta, in WCW. Yeah. And once again, they had me working with him, and that was kind of what almost turned me against the business. It's like they're gonna push this guy, and he can't tie his fucking boots,
Really?
And and I, and all, but I don't know if he got better, later on or whatever, he had to. I mean, he worked with a lot of good people, I guess, after that. But, you know, I guess it was just he had been a manager, you know, and he was just starting out.
Right.
He didn't. And
I did a couple of, I can't say I worked with him, but I took a couple of bumps from him in WCW when me and Davey were up there and whatever. And I mean, it was okay. But I mean, it's just funny that would be your answer to that. I mean, as many guys as you worked with, and I mean, honestly, I mean, who knows where he was at in his career or whatever, and I'm not a fan, but I'm just saying that's just crazy, man. You worked with probably like fucking, did you ever work with Gordy or Brody or anything?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and, you know, I work with the Road Warriors, you know.
He's worse? He's worse as far as being stiff?
Well, he wasn't as much as being stiff as just not having a clue.
I got you.
I don't know. It was just like, you know, it was just hard to work with, you know.
No, I understand that. Because there's plenty of people that I could say that didn't have a clue at the time that I worked with him, stuff like that. Yeah, I get it. I was one of the first. I wasn't his first match, but I was one of his first matches was Kurt Angle. And, I mean, I could understand where you'd be like, whoa, you know, this guy, because he was he was cock strong. And so was Perry Saturn. Perry Saturn was cock strong, man. And I was like, fuck, get me out of this. I don't want to fucking deal with this guy. Yeah.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D. Hey folks, this is Wolfie D here, and if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Tennessee or Southern Kentucky, you're going to want to call my buddy, the rock star realtor, Benji Bowie. And you say, Wolfie, how do I get in touch with this rock star? Well, you can call him directly at 615-390-8216. You can go to his website, bowiehomes.com. That's B-U-I-E homes.com. Or you can email him at benbowie34@gmail.com. When you need a home, you need the Rockstar Realtor.
Benji is a member of Exit Realty's Garden Gate team in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Who was your favorite person to work with?
Shit, man, I don't know. That's hard to say. I mean, there's
Bobby Eaton.
Like I said, there were a lot. Oh yeah, definitely Bobby Eaton. You know, like that.
Has
you know, Tom
Bobby.
Pritchard. You know,
Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom was great. You know, I don't know. It's, you know, it's hard for me for those to come to mind. Like if you mention somebody, I'm like, yeah, that, you know, this. But it's like, I don't know. I probably
same answer I give. It depends on the situation. It depends on the house and all that kind of stuff. Jimmy's heard me say this a couple of times. Right. Jimmy, can you explain it?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's time and place, man. That's what you say, you know. It can be somebody who you've heard nothing but bad things about, but the time and place worked, and you're like, man, this guy was good. I don't know what people were talking about, you know.
Yeah.
Or then you talk about Bobby, and everybody says he's great, and that's understandable too, you know. So. Yeah,
that's Bobby Eaton and Brad Armstrong. You know, they could. Work with anybody or anything.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, this one's interesting because I just want to know this personally. Like, what was the story behind the Crash nickname?
Oh, well, so we were wrestling in Knoxville. That was for Atlanta, and we had wrestled up there and drove back to Atlanta. And I guess it was had to be on a Friday night because we had TV the next morning. Mm-hmm. And so I drove back, and you know, I don't know what time we got back at 2:00 or something, and then next morning we had to go to TV. Well, we got back late, so Tommy said, take my Cadillac. We were in his car, so take my Cadillac home and pick me up in the morning on the way to TV. And okay, so I get up the next morning, and I'm going over to pick him up. I'm going down the road, and I guess I dozed off or whatever where the road turned, and I just went straight and went in these people's yard. They had a big old rock outside the Volkswagen.
Oh, man.
Anyway, I hit that son of a bitch, and went up in the air and come down in the middle of their yard and flopped down.
No.
Oh, man.
It hurt me or nothing, but it totally totaled Tommy's Cadillac, you know, and so I called him and I said, man, you better get another ride to TV this morning. I don't think I'm going to be a little bit late or whatever. And so I'm going to be a little bit late. And, you know, yeah. And I didn't tell him what kind of shape his Cadillac was in, you know. And,
didn't want to ruin
I got in there, you know, and Gordon totally got a hold of, you know, heard about it and everything and all. And so he's like, yeah, Johnny Crash Rich. That's where the crash comes from.
That is hilarious. That is the best story ever.
Man.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That really is.
Yeah, but, you know, Tommy could have very easily had that name as many cars as he crashed. You know, but, you know, the one story, you know, we'd go on tours, you know, we would wrestle in Atlanta, and then they'd fly us up there and then rent us a car, or we'd rent a car and, you know, and drive around up there all week and then fly back to Atlanta and do TV and then be in Atlanta for a week, back and forth like that, you know, and we go up in West Virginia and all them towns. And so one week we had flown in there, you know, and we rented the car and put it in my name. And so, you know, and then we'd have our crew, you know, like me and Tommy and Roddy Piper and Brad or Nick Patrick, you know, we'd have 4 in a car, you know, and so it was Piper with us. And so we leave a show one night, you know, and we're going to the next town, and we're coming in West Virginia through there in the mountains, you know, where they just, you know, roads turn back and forth and all. Yeah. So crazy. And Piper's driving like a damn madman, you know, and me and Brad's in the back seat, and going around through there, flying, going too fast, and he comes around a curve, and the momentum, like, we're going to hit this bridge sideways if it continues to go the way it's going. And then he cuts it and goes down beside the bridge, off down in a ravine and across some railroad tracks. And you know, me and Brad's in the back seat with our we're in the back seat with our arms on a styrofoam cooler full of beer. And we went off that bridge and hit that bottom. Our arms went right through that cooler. Beer and ice and everything went everywhere and all.
Oh, man.
We come to a stop, you know, and we all look around and we're like, yeah, we're alive, you know. We never hit anything hard, you know. We just come to a stop. The crazy thing about it is like we turned the light on and shit. And I mean, we're down this ravine, and then all of a sudden somebody's tapping on the window, and this guy's up there. He goes, Tommy Rich. Man, I seen y'all coming around there. I said, I knew y'all wasn't going to make that curve when y'all come around.
Oh, my God.
So it was,
you know what? He is the most, I've said this 100 times, Tommy and also Ricky Morton are the most recognizable wrestlers that I've ever traveled with, man. Anywhere you go, everybody knows who they are.
It is, don't you? What it is, that's what Roddy Piper used to say. You got that neon sign on top of your head that says, I'm a wrestler. You know, that white hair.
Yeah. Right.
That is hilarious.
You know, they did. I mean, you know, everybody knew Tommy. Yeah. I mean, and you know, that started from time. And when we were in Tennessee, and Jerry Jarrett started doing those videos, what do you call those? You know, to the music and everything.
Vignettes.
The Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and then he went to Atlanta, you know, and they did that. And that was what was crazy, is that's when the T-Top Camaro coming out, and he had that thing, man. I mean, he was living the life, you know, and I was right there. I'm like, but that's it. I was in the car, you know, how many times that we flipped cars over and, you know, I mean, wrecked cars everywhere.
Oh, man, me and you have lived a similar life, man. Ask Jimmy. I've been ejected. I've been in about, I think, 10 car crashes. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And once again, that was another Roddy Piper saying was that, you know, the Lord takes care of babies and fools, and we ain't no babies. We were the other.
Great. That's great.
I think so.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah.
Man. So obviously, you know, we love Davey, man. That interview we had with him was incredible. The listeners loved it. You know, is he your favorite all-time tag team partner, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, me and him got together, you know, I mean, I don't know. We just meshed, good, and everything it was easy. Once again, it's just like working with somebody. It's easy or whatever. We just had he could sell, and we tried that with me and Tommy. I'd do the selling, give Tommy the hot tag and everything and all. But Tommy is such a more nationally known person and everything and all. With me and Davey, it was a tag team combination. Not an individual.
Right.
Thing or whatever. Right. And, and so, I don't know. I guess, I thought it got over in USA territory. I could be wrong.
No, it did. Yeah. But, y'all were awesome. and I think you're right, because Tommy is such a well-known star. You and Davey got the chance to make something together, and I think that's where you all came, into your own in that regard, I should say. I think you got to build something on your own there. And even though you're the rich cousins or whatever, it's still kind of your own thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was, I was thinking about it once. It was like, me and Tommy were the cousins. Me and Davey were almost like brothers or whatever. Like,
right.
Similar. We had the same, similar look and all that stuff and everything and all, but Davey's great. Dave, I'd been like Tommy. I never got into working out stuff and all. I was just, just an athlete. And, Davey, and it wasn't, as Tommy said, it wasn't our gimmick to work out and be buffed up and stuff,
That's what Jamie used to say. That's what my
there's some truth to it,
if I work out, it's going to kill our gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they say. But with Davey, we got into doing some working out up there with Doug Furness and
Doug Furness.
I'm glad we did.
Drop kick.
Oh yeah, man, them legs. He was, I don't know how tall he was. He 5-something or whatever, but could dunk a basketball because them damn powerful legs. He could spring up in the air like a kangaroo.
Oh man, them thighs, man, them thighs. Him and what was his partner's name? God, what was his partner's name?
Davey Boy, or I can't remember now, but they were.
I can't either, but they were big in Japan.
Philip LaFont. You're thinking of Phil LaFont.
Phil LaFont. Yeah. They were awesome, man. And that drop kick, though, man. And honestly, when I was 15, 16, 17, I could do that backflip drop kick, but then I started gaining weight and trying to get bigger because everybody said I was too small, and I couldn't do it like I used to. But whatever.
Yeah, we have our moves,
Yeah.
Moves.
And you're Johnny. How tall are you, Johnny?
I'm about 6'1".
Okay,
getting smaller every year.
Yeah. You're my size, man, and then that's what everybody told me. I'm too small. But then look at the guys wrestling today. God, I'm a giant.
I know. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. It felt like at 6'1", like you were too short, but it would have been nice to been 6'4", 6'5", and and all that. But it takes all kinds. That's the thing. You can't all look alike. Different characters.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about the evolution of wrestling? Let's put that out on. Like, okay, we know that back in our day, call it in the ring and all this kind of stuff, and then I was still a part of it when it was, let's talk about a little bit of stuff and whatever. And now it's like, let's talk about everything and let's do all this kind of crazy shit. What do you think about that? Is it just evolution or is it fucking up the business?
It's a different business. It's all, like I said, it used to be telling a story, and that was the thing, that was like Ric Flair back in the day, he'd be going an hour, and holding an arm bar, for 30 minutes or whatever and all.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to get that you bore the people into, but that's what they liked it. They believed it and everything.
Yeah.
And that's a difference to me, that believing in it than seeing a gymnastics, event or whatever. Where
I think these guys today are, man, what great athletes. Some of the stuff they do is incredible, but I just don't feel like like, I don't know.
Like
WWE to me,
it's a different time,
exactly, and it has evolved. I mean, you have to say that. I mean, I look at George, you know, back in the day, drop kick was a finish, and yes. Right. You know, you go on to the 80s, and you go on. You know, everything has changed, but I don't know. The bar has been lifted so high to where it's just like, man, come on. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and who's to say which was better? You know, I mean,
yeah.
And then you look back at some of the matches. You know, that match you sent me, you know, of us and the Nightmares. You know, I mean, it's basic holds and stuff and all.
Absolutely,
but when you got the people in your hands, that, and I don't know if that's not what's missing is that, you know, I don't know, Shakespeare.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. It's like, can you get, and I've been in that position where I felt like I had the audience in my hand, but, and we can go on about this, you know, internet, all that kind of stuff, because everybody's too smart now, and it's just like, they know what we're doing and blah, blah, blah. And it's just hard. Yeah. And Jimmy will tell you, and the listeners will tell you, I've said this 1,000 times, as a heel, I can't make you mad if you know I'm trying to make you mad. That's what's missing. You know, the good versus bad thing. It's we know that everybody's going out there doing their job, quote unquote, and that's what's missing to me, is that back in the day, you thought I was an asshole and you believed it.
Yeah. But you know, I think when that started changing, and you think back on it and everything and all, when a heel used to be a heel and got heat, and that was what made the matches, and that's what the thing was built off of. You know, that's what brought people back. We want to come back and see that good guy kick that bad guy's ass, you know. And all. Yeah. But when it came to being cool to being the bad guy, when the heels started getting over and all, then that took away the heat end of it, like it used to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you know, that was it. It's like the more heel you were, then that certain part of the crowd started loving you, and you ended up being the babyface. You were the babyface in the deal. And so that whole theory of you know, the heel, the good versus evil or whatever, went away. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. That's just my.
No, I mean,
we're both with you, I promise.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I hot tagged you and everything. The comeback has happened. You got any last questions?
I do. I really do. This is one of I'm dying to ask this. So basically, you know, Wolfie just sent me that match, as well as sending it to you about the Nightmares, and you guys work in the Nightmares. Well, apparently one night the Nightmares poured K-Rose syrup and feathers on you. And do you remember what they called you?
The Birmingham chicken.
Well, yeah, the Birmingham bird, the chicken. Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah. That's awesome. Tell me that story.
Yeah, it was a tarred feather match. You know, we did gimmick matches, and once again, you know, as silly as it was, and all that or whatever, and all, it got heat. It pissed the people off. You know, I mean, to where, you know, Birmingham was sold out. You know. And all that they're like, them little bastards, you know, we want the riches to kick their ass, you know, and so they put asses in the seats and all, you know, and we did, you know, some silly gimmicks or whatever, you know, but it was all, you know, we led into, you know, hair matches and stuff like that and everything and all, but it was all, and, you know, and the one that I witnessed and all was Jerry Jarrett. You know, it's about being the storyteller. It's about making the stars, you know. They can make whoever they want to. Yeah. You know.
Right.
And but it's about building process. And back in the day when the people believed it, you know, then they wanted to come and see it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what that was all about selling tickets, you know. And so so that was the thing. But I'll tell you a side note on the Birmingham thing, the tar and feather thing and all that. This young lady was 15 years old and lived in Tuscaloosa. I think it's about 40, 50 miles away. her and her friend would come to wrestling matches on Monday nights. They would say they were going. They lied and came to the matches and didn't even have drive. They were 15. I guess they looked the part of 16 or whatever.
Right.
They come to the matches and stuff and all, and so I mean, I never knew them. I don't remember them or anything, but what is it? 20, 30 years later or whatever, I meet this girl, and we've been together for 8 years now, and she had in her scrapbook a piece of that feather and all, where she got a piece of that as a souvenir that night. Anyway, that's awesome. Funny. That's our tale. That's funny. Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, man, I didn't know if I'd be able to talk long enough on this and all. I wasn't sure what to say, but I mean, I got lots of other stories. Andre the Giant stories.
Well, let's hear one of those. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean,
got time for Andre.
We don't like to go.
I thought we was about to run. I thought we was running out of time.
Well, I mean, listen, Johnny, I like to keep it at about an hour, but if you got great stories, let me listen to them. It entertains me, and I know it entertains the listeners.
Maybe it's just could be a little tease. Maybe y'all can have me back on if I.
No, of course.
We can still do that. We can still do that.
Well, I tell you what. Let me ask something that will maybe wrap it up pretty good, and then we can plan for a part 2, and we'll go with that. So I know you talked about getting into the business and stuff with Tommy but did you all see each other a lot as kids? Like, do you remember what Tommy was like as a little Tommy Wildfire Rich?
Oh yeah, he was just Tommy Richardson,
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He wasn't little Tommy Rich.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say, I mean, so it's a story of us being, when we were kids or whatever, 7, 8 years old or whatever, and we went down to some of our family's farm, which was just a farm. I mean, they lived on the farm outside of Nashville there and all, and they actually cut hay, I guess, with a sickle or something or whatever, and they piled the hay up on, in a haystack.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Tommy's 2 years older than me, so I was probably 5 and he's probably 7, and somehow we got out there, and it was kind of away from the house. We're sitting out there on top of the haystack, and we had a box of matches, and we're sitting there flipping matches, where you flip them off the thing and they catch on fire and tumble down. It caught the damn haystack on fire.
Oh man!
And so all these, they all running with pails of water and shit, trying to put out that hard work. They piled that thing up. I mean, a big old stack. We're sitting on top of it, And anyway, so they finally got it and all, and like I said, Tommy's mother and my daddy were brother and sisters, and and so after everybody calmed down and everything and whatever, and anyway, Tommy got his ass beat. His mama whipped his ass and everything. And my daddy said, nah, and then, but I didn't get a whipping, and so he still holds that against me that I didn't get my ass tore.
I bet he does. I bet you hear about it all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah,
love that. That's a great story.
We got old videos and stuff, when we were kids and stuff and all. But yeah, good times. He's a good guy. Good guy. He carries on bullshit, but he's a good guy.
He does carry on bullshit. And, man, I got some funny stories that I could tell you on the side with me and Tommy. One of them that's been out there is me and Tommy running through the woods from my ex-girlfriend. But anyway.
I think we got time. Tell that one. That's a classic.
It was just, she was coming home, and me and Tommy were about to go to a show. He was at my house, and we were doing our thing. That's all I'm going to say. And she knew that. Yeah. She was headed to the house, and I was like, dude, she's coming. We got to go. And like right out back of my apartments, there was a trail that would lead to the lake or like down to the road. This was in Nashville. So we took the one that led to the road, and we called Doug, and we're like, hey, pick us up at this bar, because that's where the trail ran out. Oh, and so Tommy had his cooler full of beer, and we had to stop halfway because he couldn't carry the fucking cooler no more. He was blown up. And we sat down and we both had a beer, and then we're like, we kept going, and we got to the bar and Doug picked us up. So yeah, that's the summary of that story. But
and I can just hear the cooler like splashing ice and water and beer cans.
Oh yeah, we were running. We didn't want her to come back. We didn't want to see her. I've never seen her again after that. But
yeah, that's so Tommy. He ain't going nowhere without that cooler.
I don't know, man. Johnny, what a fucking cool interview, man. Thank you so much for coming on here. And absolutely, I want to hear these Andre stories and all this. We're going to do part 2. We teased it on other people, but if you're down with it, man, we're having you back on.
Please.
Andre, you got Andy Kaufman stories and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, shit. All right. It's a definite. Will you promise the listeners you'll come back?
Oh, yeah, I promise you. We'll do it.
All right, man. And, hey, on the side, text me, call me anytime. You seem like an incredible dude, man. I wish I would have got to have met you and worked with you, honestly. And thank you for coming on. And Jimmy,
that would have been good.
Yeah, man. Jimmy, we're coming back with Ask Wolfie D Anything. And thank you so much, Johnny. Thank you so much for coming on here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Talking with you. Wolfie, talk to you soon, buddy.
Yes, sir.
All right. And keep listening to Live and In Color with Wolfie D.
Thank you.
And Jimmy, the man street.
That's awesome.
Go, guys.
Thank you so much, Dad.
Let's go out later.
All right, buddy. All right. Thank you, Johnny.
All right, bye.
Yep. All right, DJ, hit the music. All right, we are back with Ask Wolfie D Anything, and man, oh man, Johnny Rich, dude, what a trip! I knew that was going to be great, first of all, but man, what a great story, what a cool dude, and like he said, he's got stories on lockdown for more.
Yeah, we got to get him back, man. I want to hear these Andre stories and that shit.
Yeah, the Andy Kaufman. I mean, he's got a lot.
I mean, who doesn't want to hear an Andre story or an Andy Kaufman story?
Exactly. And that's what we're going to get. So look for that. Part 2 with Johnny Rich coming soon, we promise. So the first question of today's Ask Wolfie D is this one. It says, from Chance Talks Business on YouTube, one of our YouTube subscribers. Thank you very much, Chance Talks Business. He says, what's the best piece of advice you received from Jerry Lawler? And did you take it or not?
Well, let me sound like Hawk. Well, I don't think Jerry Lawler ever gave me advice, honestly. I mean, I'm serious. That's a shoot right there. I don't think Lawler ever gave me advice. We've talked about this on the show before. Memphis was not the place to get people to up you. You know, you don't come back from the ring and everybody goes, great match. Blah, blah, blah. That's not Memphis, man. It's, oh my God, that sucked. Right. You know, being, whether they liked it or not, it was being sarcastic and stuff like that. But yeah, I honestly, that's a question that I don't, man, the biggest compliment Jerry Lawler has ever given me would probably be just knowing that he liked working with me. Yeah. And I would work with him on a lot of Burt shows and stuff like that because I knew he wanted to work with me. And I mean, he didn't say, hey, Wolfie, I want to work with you. I just knew that I was the person to work with him because he wanted to work with me. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. It definitely does.
And man, we could go in there and man, there's a match that, God, and I used to have it on tape until someone stole all my shit. Right. In Woodbury, Tennessee, that man, me and him a huge house and all this. And hell, I was calling stuff to him. And It was great. And I was doing his bumps to him. Like, wow. Over the top, you know, he punched me and I took an over the top rope bump for him. And because he was just punching me and I went one more big one. And he punched me over the top rope, you know, like a clothesline or whatever. And, you know, just stuff like that, man. So I know that he loved working with me. And that was probably the way I could say it. I mean, that's his best advice.
That's huge, and about all you ever need to hear, honestly, is that Lawler likes working with me. But I'm curious, is Lawler to me always seemed like the kind of guy that his advice was follow my actions, not really what I'm going to tell you. You know, it's more like follow the way that I act, and you know, he always carried himself in a certain way, and it's almost like his advice to you would be like, hey, look, follow the lead on this, you know. And you know. And
he was just one of those people that, you know, and I've said this about people that I trained, you could touch someone in the ring for the first time and figure out, is this person got it or not? And I think he knew that about me. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. That's definitely.
I mean, especially as time went on. I mean, I'm not saying that in '93 when I came in and ever touched him for the first time, well, maybe he might have went, okay, this kid's going to get it. But later in life, when a lot of Burt shows where I was just a person that happened to be working with him all the time, and he knew I was not going to hurt him, and I was going to fly for him. And that's one thing about Lawler, that's why he liked Eddie Gilbert so much, because Eddie would fly for him. You know, like when the strap comes off, fucking sell. And I'll be honest, man, I don't know if I've said this on here before, but when that strap comes off, that was one of my favorite things, man, because I'd seen it as a kid. And so when it comes off, I'm like, okay, here's my chance.
Right.
I'm going to act like the Incredible Hulk just punched me. You know? And I'm going to fly. I'm going to jump as high as I can. I'm going to go everywhere, you know? So that's what he taught me.
That's awesome. That's a lesson right there for anyone listening, honestly. So that's very cool. I like that. Well, thank you for that question. We definitely appreciate that. And good answer, Wolfie D. So the next one is from HorrorHound6575 on YouTube.
Horror or whore?
Horror, like he likes, you know, scary stuff. Okay. So he's like, I'd like to ask some questions about his time in the Disciples of Sin and OVW, because sadly that, as far as I know of his career, is up to the WWE's developmental system. Wolfie definitely deserved more opportunities in TNA or a chance in WWE. He had such a unique look and was talented in the ring. So anyway, he's just wanting to hear something about Disciples of Sin. And it's funny that you brought up old dude there earlier.
But, I mean, great times. And like I have said, again, these things that I've said before. And, thank you. What's his name?
His name, HorrorHound6575. Yeah, HorrorHound. Yeah.
HorrorHound. Thank you for asking this question. But yeah, man, Jim Ross came to me and he said, hey, we're looking at you again, and don't shoot yourself in the foot. And I did. So that's the answer, like cut and dry. I shot myself in the foot. Probably could have been looking at life a little bit differently these days if I had not have, but it's, you know, I'm always an open book, man. And I had some issues then. And so that's kind of what happened, man. They were looking at me good, and I didn't do right.
Well, I mean, at least you're owning up to it, man. There's nothing wrong with that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it is what it is.
So, yeah. So thank you for that question, horror hound, whatever.
We love you, horror hound.
Horror hound.
Yeah, horror hound.
So you got a choice there. It's like, do I pick the whore or the hound? Never mind. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going with
I'll take the whore.
Ditto. Yeah, man. I just heard a funny story about Little Farmer John, by the way, who I'm going to have on my show coming up soon. Little Farmer John, Midget D, and I think his name was Cousin Junior. Whore? Yeah, no, listen, hang on. It's just funny. And it's about a whore. Yeah. So Midget D, okay, your buddy Midget D, Little Farmer John, and Cousin Junior from the Scuffling Hillbillies, right?
Lord, Cousin Junior, the Moondog too?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so they got a lady of the night together, and then the next day, little Farmer John woke up, or no, maybe Midget doing it, and he's like, "She gave us crabs. She gave us crabs." And Cousin Junior had to shave his beard. Oh man, yeah, yeah. So listen for that story.
Beard? Wow.
Yeah, I had to shave his beard, man. So what does that tell you? Yeah.
That's some nasty wrestling stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, the third and final question of today's Ask Wolfie on this awesome Johnny Rich episode is from, this is a name you've probably never been called, Wolfie. So this is from Dickless Von Loser 6909 on YouTube. Yeah. So he owns, I think, what he's dealing with there. So, yeah, he says, how different was the atmosphere in TNA when it first started to when you left?
The atmosphere when I first got there was, again, one of those things where, hey, this is a fresh new company. Yeah. Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett, money, everybody thought, okay, great. Then it went through these times where you didn't know what was what. Right. And also it was a weekly pay-per-view, which has never been done before.
Yep.
So then that was how is this doing? We're all going, hey, what does anybody know what the numbers were? Blah, 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 blah. And we didn't. And, even if we heard it, we probably didn't get right numbers back then.
Right.
So it was weird. But the dressing room, I think everybody wanted to work hard. Up until, when they left for Orlando and I didn't go with them. And then me and Sin went back for that pay-per-view. It was a whole different atmosphere. It felt like everybody there did not want to be there. They hated their lives and their contracts and wrestling and whatever else. But yeah, in the first days of that, we just wanted to make it good, man. I did. And I know the people that I worked with did. We all went out there and worked our asses off. So
yeah. No, and I mean, I can totally see what you're saying, because even in anything, when you get a new job at a new place that just started, man, the world is your oyster, as they say, right? It's perfect. Everything's great. Everybody likes each other. And then by the time it's time to leave, you're like, man, I hate everybody in this building. Yeah. And even if I love them, I hate them right now. And, this is not.
And also politics start kicking in.
How long does it take for politics to start kicking in? Honestly,
I mean, honestly, they're there at the beginning, but you may not see it. But then, we've talked about this, and you had Bob Ryder guys, you had Jeff's guys, you had just whoever's guys.
Right.
They were in the office, and then you had guys like me who don't give a flying fuck. I just want to wrestle, and I want to do my best every single time I go out there.
Yeah.
And again, that could be something that is not good for me that I did, It wasn't good for me that I did, that I wasn't a political guy where I didn't go and sell myself all the time. I just wanted to go out there and perform and do the best I could, And it could have, once again, shot me in the foot. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but whatever.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you're kind of like, hey, look, I want my work to be what keeps me here, right? I want my talent. I want my ability.
It can't be, because you see people like, and I'm this person just came into my view when I said this, Disco Inferno.
Yeah.
Good worker.
Right.
Shitty dude, honestly. I really never cared for him, but look what he did, and look what he's still doing. He's still relevant.
Yeah, very much.
He's still relevant, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, I think he's one of those guys, and I've said this before positively, right? You know, he's kind of like,
They might have sucked a dick. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to, maybe I shouldn't say what I was about to say then. But there's guys in companies that try to make themselves very important by doing multiple tasks. Like they might be head of the merchandise department, and then they might be part of not talent relations, but public relations. Yeah, and they could be something to the effect of like, hey, mate, they might also be like a heel manager or maybe like a commentator or whatever, but they try to do multiple like a Borash almost, somebody who did very good.
And I just wanted to be a wrestler. That's all I ever wanted to do, be a wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that was bad or good, honestly, because I know there's a lot of people that have made it in the business that just wanted to be a wrestler. And that's all I ever wanted to do was be a wrestler, man.
Yeah. And that might just be time and opportunity in the right place, like you always say, So, well, that is a good answer for that one. I don't think there's any more to say about that. But I thought that was a good question because I like to see the contrasting and comparing of the first days to the time you left. So, anyway.
And if you suck dick, you do better.
That's why my life has never been good then. I need to, never mind. Never. Anyway, well, that is all I got, my friend.
All right, man. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in this week. Johnny Rich was awesome, and we'll have him again because we're going to hear about Andre the Giant and all his other stories. Yeah, Andy Kaufman. That'll be good too. So, we'll have him back definitely soon, I hope. So, tune back in next week, and love you guys.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all. And all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon Podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon Podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Microgroup Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
Hey, it's the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze. Now I'm inviting all of y'all to join me on my brand new podcast, Turning Up the Heat with the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze. So what are you waiting for? Come on over and join me. I'll be covering all the events of the day, global, national, pop culture, movies, gaming, whatever sounds interesting. But I'll also be playing some awesome skating shuffle music from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Anything that has a good beat, I'm going to be playing it. You can rest assured. Come on over, TUTHradio.com. The podcast is on every major podcast platform. See you then.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon Podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon Podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Microgroup Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at WarrenWolf13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cat for your dome.
He got a cat for your dome.
I got a cat for your dome.
He got a cat for your dome.
He got a cat
for your dome.
And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color. Plum rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was N-O-D, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip hopping. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. When my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome.
We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.